All right, everyone, what's going on, man? It's your boy Simba in the building. You feel me? Hope y'all had a good weekend. Of course, I quite literally just got out of Smile 2. Like, no joke. I haven't even changed. I haven't even taken my shoes off from getting home from the theater. I've just gotten home from this movie. When I tell you that this was a solid, and I mean absolutely fantastic sequel compared to any other sequel I've ever seen, it's up there, one of the best sequels. Oh, and I know what y'all are thinking. This is odd, you know, this is usually just reactions. I figured, hey, why only post reactions? I do watch a lot of movies time to time, and they're not reactions, or at least I don't upload them, I should say. I did take down some notes, of course. I jotted down some quick things on my phone while I was in the theater. Strong points of this movie, very few weak points in this movie, I tell you. And my weak points, I mean weak points, it was literally one thing I probably had an issue with the entire film. So yeah, we're gonna try to get these keep these as regular as they can. I have plans to go out and see a lot of movies coming out for the rest of this year and starting halfway into next year. I'm gonna try to expand this channel as much as I can. I'm a huge movie guy. Let me not yap too much, because I do want to get down to this video and I don't want it to be too long. Smile 2, which did release October 18th. I am a bit late to the show, unfortunately. I just didn't get a chance to go and see it day of release, of course, so I did watch it the Sunday after. I heard nothing but good things, so there was nothing stopping me from watching this movie before the weekend ends. What's the box office looking like? 50 million globally. That's phenomenal for a horror movie. That's absolutely fantastic. In the world of comic movies and stuff like that, and blown out of proportion dramas that we get from some directors, of course. I'm not hating on nobody. I still watch the movies, but 50 million globally is a great opening weekend for a horror film. What I'm gonna do before I say anything else here, of course, is give a huge, and I mean huge, spoiler warning. I'm gonna talk a lot. I'm gonna talk a lot about the details of this movie. I'm gonna try to speak as much about this movie as I can without giving too much of it away. Of course, it's gonna slip out.
Wow. What do you mean by that?
Rather, you know, you actually watch this movie for the first time versus just watching my review. And if you don't care, you're welcome to watch the review anyway. Let's start with the intro to the film. Now, the intro is something very important. This is what's gonna pull the viewer into the rest of the movie. This is what gets them hooked. You ever start an essay in high school? The first sentence of your essay is the most important. That's what they tell you in school, right? It's the same way when it comes to a movie. That intro needs to get the people to stay in their seat. If you remember Joel from the first movie, he was the one at the end of the movie that did see, and this is spoilers for Smile 1, but he was the one that did see the main character from the first movie set herself on fire. In this verse, they're infected by this parasite, curse, whatever you want to call it. By being affected, you have to witness someone offing themselves. That's how the curse, parasite, whatever you want to call it, moves on to the next person now. And now in the first movie, we do find out that the best way, or the only way rather, to beat this curse is to kill someone once you've been affected by it, thus them taking your place in line and they move on to the next person. But it has to be in front of a witness. That was the key point. So Joel, granted that he doesn't want to die himself, he tries to murder someone in front of a witness. Granted, he picks two drug dealers, so I mean, lesser of two evils on that one. But Joel shoots a drug dealer. No. He stabs a drug dealer. He quite literally, brutally, I should say, murders one of the drug dealers in front of the other drug dealer, who I believe they were brothers. Him being a police officer, of course he's armed. Them being drug dealers, of course they're armed. The second he stabs one drug dealer, the other one goes for the shebang bang. He tries to shoot Joel. Joel lets off a shot. He gets hit in the arm as well. Joel, unfortunately, did end up killing the other witness. He's, of course, hysterical, granted that he just killed two people for absolutely no reason. But turns out one of the drug dealers was selling to a customer at the time when Joel arrived. Bring on, I believe his name is Lewis. Joel thinking, hey, you know, I did get the curse off, I think, so I'm clear to go. But oh, I don't even want to say this because this was so sad. The drug dealer's friends pull up. Joel, in a panic, he races out, tries to get away, and unfortunately, oh man, Joel is struck by a moving vehicle as he crosses the street and smeared, and I literally mean smeared, across the street. And that's our title card, Smile 2. It was a fire intro. Again, RP Joel. Is that his name? I swear I could be getting that wrong, but let's just make sure that's his name. It is Joel. Okay, but great acting from Joel's part. Of course, you could tell that he's truly panicked in the sense that he thinks he's about to die, and when he finally does get rid of the curse. Unfortunately, he is struck down either way. I did want to point out something that I caught on a bit early, because for some reason in this movie they focus a lot on the reflections. Like, I don't remember it too much in the first movie, but in the second movie there was a lot of reflections. Like, and I mean mirrors, I mean glass, I mean even they reflect the camera shot itself, so you're not looking at something directly. Moving on to where we're meeting Naomi Scott's character, who, oh my goodness, she looked good in this film. Naomi Scott is playing a popular pop singer. I believe her name was Skyler Riley. Oh, and also the cinematography on this movie was fantastic, by the way. The way they flip a lot of the shots, it's a conversation between two people, but the way we only see one person as they speak and they flip it over and over and over again, it adds to hysteria. That's the like the crazy feeling you get when you're watching this movie. So I appreciated the hell out of that. Apparently she's been through a terrible accident and she was in rehab for quite a long time. I want to say about a year. Well, she's portraying that she's better, but she's still, you know, dealing with the horrific accident she was in, quite dependent on painkillers. This is how they move from the last movie into the sequel. So Skyler, she needs more painkillers, of course. So we then therefore go to our old friend Lewis's house. Lewis, again, is a drug dealer, but this is about, I want to say, a week after he witnessed Joel killed 2 people. Lewis is not worse for wear. He's quite hysterical. I'm gonna use this word a lot. We're watching his final moments, right? Oh, and I found it so funny. When I tell you Lewis opens the door and is so confused, he's so distraught in whatever he's been dealing with, that he pulls her in and he holds her at sword point. I do not mean gunpoint. I mean, this man pulls out a katana and holds it up to her neck. She's freaking out. He's freaking out as well. He's like, you know what? My bad. Maybe I'm going crazy. He doesn't understand what's going on. All he knows at this point is he's just been seeing some shit that he rather not see. Him trying to be a good host at this point, once he's put the katana down, and he says, hey, I'm gonna go get what you need. I'll be right back. Lewis walks back out and he starts flipping out. Again, the curse needs a witness to move on, and Skyler has just walked in, of course, so that's convenient for the curse. Lewis is going crazy again. He's seeing stuff. He's looking at something that Skyler can't see. She's trying to figure out what's going on. Are you tripping out, dude? Are you on drugs? With how we did watch that doctor from the first movie get infected by this thing, we see the opposite of that, or we see the outside version of it, where we don't see the thing infecting him. We see him losing it now, and it seems like he's choking to death. So Skyler weaking out now because she's thinking he just OD'd in front of her. She doesn't know what to do, and then all of a sudden he stops breathing, and guess what? He starts smiling. It's a funny smile that they do, by the way, but it's so creepy at the same time, and I love that. He grabs a 45 plate and oh my god, this was the worst part of the movie. This was so gruesome. That's another thing. They upped the gruesome on this movie by, like, if the gruesome in the last movie was like 8, this was an 11. Like, it got so much worse, and I'm here for it. He grabs this 45 plate and he starts going to town, and I mean, he's smashing the plate into his face. It just gets nastier and nastier because he's pulling the plate away from his face, and they give us enough time to see what damage he's doing. And I don't want to talk about that anymore, because the more I talk about it, the longer it sticks in the back of my brain. Lewis succumbing to his injuries, he falls down dead, and Skyler has now been affected. I'm not gonna talk too much about the rest of the movie. What I will tell you is that the sound work was phenomenal. Oh my goodness, the way they designed the sounds to keep you on the edge of your seat, lull you into like a false sense of security, and potentially jump scare you, which they did quite well with this movie compared to the last one. The last movie where it startled me, this movie, no joke, scared the shit out of me. It was just great. As crazy as that sounds, it was great. It really was a great movie in the horror aspect, of course. Where the score wasn't memorable, it made up with the sound design. The background music for this movie, you don't really notice it too much, but the sound design where they try to, you know, position you to a point where they're gonna scare the shit out of you and you're not gonna see it coming, which they did to a T. Another strong point, which we see very early into the movie, is Naomi Scott's acting. My goodness, she acted her ass off in this film. You thought she was actually losing her, at least I thought. It seemed like to me she was actually going through some shit. It made the movie, if anything. And at this point, we're only 25 minutes into the movie, and the pacing I think is very, very, very good. There's no drawn out scenes, I should say. There's not too much dialogue. We're already getting into that creep factor with her just witnessing Lewis dying and stuff like that in the fashion that he did. Pacing, another strong point. The pacing was very well, all the way up to the end. I'm thinking at some point, you know, it's gonna fall off and we're gonna start lingering a bit too much in these scenes. Didn't happen. I was waiting for it and it didn't happen. Oh, another thing I liked was, or another strong point I guess you could say, was the callbacks to the original movie. In one of the scenes in Skyler's apartment, like how Rose was breaking a glass in the movie when she got startled, Naomi breaks a glass in the same fashion. Even brings us a jump scare from the first movie, almost identical, where Skyler is sleeping. She wakes up and she sees Lewis's bashed face right in front of her. Now this is jumping a bit farther into the movie, but another one is with the main character's friend Gemma. Sky has completely lost it. Gemma offers to drive her to somewhere because she's meeting another character that we meet along the way. Sky and Gemma were not on good terms before this movie, and then they reconcile right after Lewis's death. Gemma tells her, you know, I'm here for you, I'm ready to support you. Ride or die, they call themselves. She's driving down the highway. Skyler's finally calm. She's like, oh my goodness, I have such a good friend. There's hope. There's that sliver of hope that they couldn't wait to yank from us. All of a sudden, she gets a phone call on her phone, and on her phone, when she looks at it, what does it say? It says Gemma. Oh my word, when I tell you, I was like, huh? And when she picks up the phone, it's Gemma saying, oh, I'm so sorry to just get back to you. I'm sorry I ignored you for a couple days. And you're thinking, wait, a couple days? They just made up a couple days ago. Nope. Because when she turns and looks at her, it's that creepy ass smile staring her dead in her face. That was just great. I can't get over that. Again, the callbacks are fun, but when they're done correctly, they add so much to the movie. Versus, you know, where I was afraid that there's too many callbacks and we're pulling away from the movie now. We're bleeding into the first movie. Didn't happen. Our next strong point, which I like a lot, were these dope ass camera shots. And I mean, they were pulling out all the stops like they did in the first movie with the split diopter shots, a lot of dolly work that was seamless in the movie itself. There's even a scene where we're looking at the main character through a pipe in her sink, and it's like it fits. You know what I'm saying? It works so well. The cinematography on this movie was fantastic. Another strong point being the brutality that this movie brought. It's a sequel, so of course we need to do more in the sequel than we did in the first movie. Otherwise, the first movie is gonna seem, and most times the sequel is not better than the first movie, but you want the sequel to add on to the story itself, and they did that in terms of brutality and and how gruesome it was. And let me tell you, it got gruesome. It got pretty nasty right there. Like, I'm sitting there by myself, and I'm trying to look over to the next person like, are you seeing this shit? They're 8 seats away from me, so of course I look like a crazy person. It's a horror movie, so of course it's gonna get a little nasty, but my word, they didn't glorify it. That's what I like as well. When we see how bad it was whenever a person got killed, that was it. We don't go back to them and they don't make a shrine to their body or something like how some movies do. I loved how we could just move on and go to the next death. The story was decent. I like the story behind the character. Skyler, of course, being a recovering addict, so she's going crazy. Everyone thinks she's relapsing, and turns out she's not. Oh my goodness, there's this one scene where she was doing autographs. It was like a meet and greet situation, right? This one dude named Alfredo. The reason why I remember his name, because the next scene after, this dude Alfredo he's parasocial. He wants a relationship with Skyler. Why won't you be mine, Skyler? The security have to drag this boy off. And the next scene, we're in her apartment again, and we see the shirt that she signed for him lying on the floor. And when I tell you, I reeled back because I was like, no, don't be in the house. Long story short, we pan down the hallway, and there's our boy Alfredo naked in the bedroom. There's Alfredo just hanging out. She was hallucinating. It wasn't actually happening. Thank the Lord, because that guy was creepy. Like, he looked creepy as hell, and I tried not to judge, but I want to bring it back to the cinematography. I appreciate the hell out of good camera work. Camera work in this movie was flawless. What I would have liked to see was a little bit less of the flip shots, like the 180s, where we're in a conversation with two people and it's one, and then it's two, and then it's one, and then it's two. You know what I'm saying? Where they flip the line over and over and over, and instead of just having both people in the shot. I think we could have done a little bit less than that, but maybe that's them trying to draw us in and make us go crazy along with the character, which I can respect at the end of the day. Casting, I thought, was phenomenal. There's no one that seemed out of place. There's no one that seemed like they weren't playing the character they were supposed to. On-screen chemistry was also very, very, very good. It seemed like like these characters actually knew each other. If they hated each other, they did. If they liked each other, they did. If they couldn't care less about each other, they did. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone was in place and where they were supposed to be, and I don't think you could ask for better casting than that. Another thing I would say that I enjoyed was how suspenseful the movie actually was. What some horror movies can do, and it tends to happen a lot more than you think, and me being someone that's watched thousands of horror movies, you start to pick up on things. You can guess when the next jump scare is coming up. So therefore, it's hard for you to enjoy some horror movies that don't work on the suspense factor when it comes to being jump scared. Of course, they did quite well with the suspense. Didn't see a lot of these jump scares coming, and when I tell you again, the first movie, me being just startled by some of the scenes, this movie scared the shit out of me, and that's hard to do. So another strong point being the practicality, I should say. Of course, movies nowadays are going to use CGI. It's just technology that would make everyone's life easier, of course, so why not use it? My problem with CGI is that some people tend to rely on CGI, and therefore giving the movie a more fake feeling, if that makes sense. Like, we have an uncanny valley, you know, we know what's real and what's not. When you use too much CGI, it pulls you out of the movie because it's like, that's fake as hell. This movie didn't have a problem with that. The practicality was phenomenal, and by practicality I mean practical effects, where we're actually looking at what's going on and it's not been added in post with a computer. When they did use CGI, it's not noticeable. I like when CGI is used to help build or add on to practical effects, or when it's used when you can't use practical effects, of course. But what I don't like about CGI is when you use it for everything and it gives you a lazy feeling. That's all. Emotion. Another strong point in this movie was, again, the emotion. The acting is phenomenal all around. It's like the movie makes you feel what the character's going through, and I love that. When I can fully immerse into a movie and forget I'm there, why wouldn't you want that in the first place? You know what I'm saying? Why would you want to be reminded that you're just watching something? Yeah, I find movies to be an escape sometimes, so that is always appreciated when they can pull me in and keep me there. This crew was working their asses off to make sure that they put off a spectacular film. Now, enough of the strong points and the weak points for a little bit. There was two questions that I did have when it came to Naomi's character, Skyler. Now, in the first movie where Rose is like going crazy and we can see she's going crazy, she's of course seeing things, right? In this movie, Skyler is seeing things, but she's also losing track of time. And I'm not sure if that happened in the first movie. She'd lose hours when she was asleep that night. She woke up, Gemma's talking to her, and she doesn't know. Gemma gives her that creepy ass smile in bed. Not in that sense. But then all of a sudden it's daytime and it's like, wait, it's morning? So that confused me a little bit. Oh, now that I think about it. Oh my word. We'll get back to that point actually. The second thing I wanted to ask really is something that actually relates to the character in this movie and Rose from the first movie. Now, Rose in the first movie, we find out that she actually did let her mother die when her mother accidentally overdosed on sleeping pills, which is... In the second movie, we find out that the accident that Skyler was in was actually something that she caused herself. She was arguing with the person that was driving the car, Parker Hudson, who's played by Jack Nicholson's son, by the way. We're going to get back to that in a second. So Parker Hudson is driving down the highway. Both parties are coked out of their minds. They're arguing. It gets a bit physical, which is already dangerous in a moving vehicle, and given that the fact that they're under the influence is also very dangerous, Skyler actually grabs the wheel and she's jerking it around. Not in that sense, keep your mind out of the gutter. She does potentially lead the car to fly off the road, and that's the accident that Skyler was in, and it turns out that Parker actually died in that accident, unfortunately. Oh my word. So it's like the question that it asks, do these characters deserve this? Because at the end of the day, they have their deep dark secrets. Still, like, this is extreme, you know? So quickly, we're gonna roll through the last couple things that I did notice throughout the film itself in its entirety. Naomi is a singer in real life, but she's also playing a singer in this movie. So of course, we get to see the life that she's living as a singer and performer. She's currently on tour in this movie. What I enjoyed really is the musical numbers that they did show us. They weren't bad. They didn't pull you out of the movie. They didn't take away from the movie. They added on to the movie in a sense, really. And I like to think that the color scheme had a lot to do with that. So for Smile, you'd think the color red, really, when you think about this movie. In a movie that's not a musical, I didn't think the music was bad that they showed us with Skyler's career. Another thing, quickly, just the jump scares, man. Oh my word. They truly did get me at times, and I mean, like, got me, like, where I jumped in my seat. I didn't scream. The day I scream in a theater will be the day I quit everything. You know what I'm saying? That's when I will shun myself and hide in a hole for the rest of my life. Oh, and let's talk about Parker Hudson's character. Ray Nicholson, the son of Jack Nicholson. He acted his ass off for someone that was already dead. He portrayed the hell out of this dead character. Even to the point where they had him doing that creepy ass smile. Damn, Jack Nicholson genes are strong as hell. I didn't know who I was looking at there. I couldn't tell you if that was Paul Hudson or if that was Jack Torrance from The Shining. Again, the casting was very good. Another thing that I liked a lot about this movie was the transitions. Transitions I thought were very cool. They're very creative. One where we're looking at an elevator door and it swings open. The elevator doors open up and we're looking at a top view of the street. I can appreciate cool stuff like that. Real quickly, we're gonna talk about the one weak point. The one weak point I would have about this movie was probably the way they decided to explain what's going on to Skyler. This character, his name is Morris. He basically explains to Skyler what we found out in the first movie. This is an infection. This is not, you're not going crazy, which I'm glad that she had some type of hope that she's not losing her goddamn mind. And then we're given a retelling of what happens in the first movie, technically. Morris explains that before Joel died, he did kill someone in front of Lewis. That's how it moved on to Lewis. He explains how this happened to Rose before Rose offed herself, and then Rose's patience, and therefore it was a good way how they tied him into it. His brother did succumb to this curse and kill himself as well, which is sad, of course, but again, did we need it? Probably. I guess they were going to explain this to her in some way, shape, or form to try to save her, of course. Spoiler alert, they didn't. That was like my one problem with the whole movie, just how they explained. The exposition was, I didn't think it was executed too well. No joke, that's literally the one problem I had with this film, so that should say something. But also, building off of that, how they decided they were going to try to stop the curse. They planned on stopping Skyler's heart, given that they said that that's the only way that this could destroy the curse. If they stop her heart and basically bring her back to life, and given that she technically did die, the curse should not move on. I'm fairly certain that's what happened in the Countdown movie. Fairly certain they broke the curse in that with the same exact thing, where they stopped the main character's heart and they brought her back with adrenaline. That was the plan for Skyler. That should say a lot, that being my one problem with the movie. Next thing that I wanted to highlight was their use of choreography in this movie. There's one scene where Skyler's at her breaking point. She's ready to just run, and she's packing her bags, and when she goes into her closet, she turns on the light, and her entire group of backup dancers is standing in the closet staring her down with that creepy ass smile. One of these, it was so creepy, but it was so good at the same time. And they're like almost attacking her in choreographed moves. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're moving in sync and stuff like that. And it's like they're dancing and attacking her at the same time. Like, I swear to God, one of these dudes is pop locking and like ripping chunks of her hair out. These last couple things on my notes here, they all tie in together with the ending of this movie. So we're gonna wrap it up on this. After what I just explained with the backup dancers, so Skyler wakes up in a private hospital where her mother's brought her to because she found her unconscious in her apartment the night before. Skyler and her mom get into a huge argument because Skyler is again on tour right now and she doesn't want to continue the tour. She's ready to just give up on everything because of how like stir crazy she's been driven by this curse. The chemistry between these two was very good, by the way. You could tell that there's a lot of like tension in their relationship. This just made sense why they were, there was such strife between the two. So as her mom is yelling at her, it's like something switched and she just flips and she gives her that creepy ass smile. This leads to therefore the mom breaking a mirror and saying, "Look what you're doing to your mother," grabs a piece of glass from the mirror and starts stabbing herself. And this is what's crazy about this scene. Skyler, of course, hysterical. Again, I'm gonna use that word a lot here. That her mother has just stabbed herself like I think it was like 6 times, right? She jumps out the hospital bed and she tries to run to the door. She gets to the door, she stops, and she notices that she's holding the piece of glass that she just watched her mother stab herself with. She turns around and her mother is on the ground bleeding, and she realized she is covered in her blood. Yes, Skyler in fact actually stabbed her mother in a trance, I guess, and she didn't notice it, or she was tricked into thinking that her mother was stabbing herself. Of course, not wanting to go to jail for stabbing her mother, so she tries to get away And we're back to the scene where they're driving on the highway. Now we're at the end of the movie. So she goes along with the plan that Morris had brought up, basically saying, we're going to stop your heart and we're going to bring it back. And that should break the curse. In order for this to happen, they have to be inside a freezer. They're inside a freezer of like an abandoned Pizza Hut, so they can drop her body temperature low enough so where when her heart does stop, it doesn't cause permanent brain damage right away. So for some reason in this scene, and well, first I say for some reason, but I guess it's explained in the ending of this movie, Morris says, you know what, I forgot something. He walks out the freezer and Skyler is in endgame here. This is the last 15 minutes. You realize, oh, something's about to happen, and we're not sure whether or not they're gonna go through the plan and stop her heart, or if this is not gonna work and Skyler's dead. In a mirror to the first movie where Rose is like going through some type of hallucination where she sees her mom, Skyler is seeing the version of herself from the accident. The version of herself, I should say, is of course this curse incarnate. Skyler therefore decides, hey, I'm just gonna try to stop my heart myself. So she takes whatever Morris was gonna put into her, she jams it into her neck, and she's thinking it's about to be all over when the curse starts laughing. And you're thinking, why is the curse laughing? It's about to die. Nope. Whew, this being a lot here to process. The curse says, Skyler, this isn't real. Skyler gets up and realizes that she didn't jam anything into her neck. The needle wasn't even there. I'm gonna make a quick note here. So again, Skyler being on tour, meaning she's doing performances at different stadiums and whatnot. A few days before this all happened, or this went down, she was complaining about like an outfit she had to wear. She didn't like it. Basically, like right before she goes out on stage, she's like, I don't want to wear this. Cut to the present where we're at in the movie. The curse, now taking the form of Skyler, says, I think it was break a leg out there. And then it closes a set of doors that we don't see. And we're like, wait, what? Where's Skyler right now? And when I tell you this next scene, bro, the freaking twist here being that these last couple days did not happen. She is on her first night of performing where she's talking in the dress that she's complaining about that she doesn't want to wear. Boom, we're on stage. She's in front of thousands of people and she's tweaking, dog. She's losing her shit. She sees her mom in the crowds. She swears she just watched her die. And then once we cut back to the stage where Skyler is now, we see another version of Skyler smiling at her. And now the curse manifests itself again. But this time, the version of Skyler that's smiling rips herself open to reveal the curse's true form, I think. And if you remember in the first movie, this curse takes Rose's mouth and unhinges it. We see another version of that to Skyler. We're in the point of view of the curse right now. The curse takes its hand, unhinges her mouth, and all we see is what everyone else that's watching the performance, because again, this was a live show, the audience stops going crazy for a second. They realize something's going on because Skyler is on the floor convulsing. Skyler then gets up and everyone starts, and we don't see nothing. We just see, we're looking in the stands now. We're like in the nosebleeds. That's where the camera's placed, so we can't really see too much of what's going on the main stage. Skyler turns around and we see on the jumbo screens, she has that infamous smile on her face. And you realize that Skyler is no more. Skyler have now been taken over, and you're wondering, how is Skyler gonna kill herself in front of thousands of people? And who does it infect? That's what I was thinking, at least. Skyler then takes her microphone and it cuts the same way it cut to Joel at the end of the first movie, and where we don't really see the main character kill herself. But you hear Skyler take the microphone and jam it into her face. And I mean jam it, like it was in there, dog. When they cut to Skyler's body and she's smiling, the microphone is deep in her eye socket, like deep, dog. And now that I think about it, the curse infected thousands of people. So if we do get a Smile 3, oh my word, I want to see the damage that caused, man. But yeah, what a plot twist that was. And I enjoyed every minute of it. Every sickening, disgusting, gruesome, horrific moment of that movie was phenomenal. But I've yapped for long enough. I bend your ears. I appreciate y'all for, of course, reliving this with me. Overall, if I had to judge this movie and give it a score, which I'm going to do, of course, I'd say the writing and story, I'm going to give a 9.5, right? Because of that whole exposition thing with Morris. I didn't like that too much. The sound work and score, I'm gonna give another 9.5. Casting, or the acting I should say, 10 of course. Holy hell, 10. Cinematography, a 10. And overall, the movie Smile 2, I'm gonna judge and I think this is fair, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. For it being a sequel, I think that's more than fair, because like when I tell you sequels don't typically do well compared to the first movie, I think Smile 2 is better than the first movie. So a 9 out of 10 ain't bad. I don't think that's bad at all. That was my synopsis of Smile 2. Again, phenomenal movie. I would rewatch it again if I could. Oh, it was so good. Again, we're gonna try to keep these regular. So I'm thinking my next review is gonna be Venom Last Dance when I go see that in theaters next week. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you did enjoy the review, if you could toss me one of the likes, I truly do appreciate them. They don't go without notice. I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video, but without further ado, I'm gonna bid y'all a good night, better morning, all that ish, and I'm out. God bless.